Alright, so it seems like we have somebody else that we need to be looking at. Hold on one quick second. I'm actually getting close on record time here, so I'm gonna resume this cutscene in a little bit, so give me a quick second.
I'm currently employed as a researcher at the Advanced Drug Development Center. Part of our research consists of clinical tests we perform on patients in the general ward of the center. On the day of the crime, I was making my usual rounds through the ward.
Yoji Shono.
And what time was that?
Around 7:50?
You're sure?
Yes, the patients eat breakfast at precisely 8 o'clock. I always head to the break room myself, right around then too.
This break room, to be precise?
That's correct. Our more mobile patients walk there for breakfast instead of eating in their own rooms. Then, while the nurses help the patients eat, I ask about how they feel and how the medicine is treating them.
And on the day of Waku-san's disappearance, you passed by his room before going to the break room?
Yes.
And in that room, you saw Waku-san lying on the bed?
Yes.
Can you describe the situation to us as you remember it?
The door has a window, so you can see into the room from the hallway.
And this is the room you're referring to, yes?
That's correct. From where I was standing in the hallway, I could see Waku-san lying in bed. He was asleep, with a blanket covering most of his body.
And what time was that?
Around 7:50.
No further questions.
Yagami-sensei, why did you call her to the stand?
She actually asked to testify. Is that a problem?
Not really, no.
Here's my chance for a comeback.
Terasawa-san, you were present for Shono-san's testimony just now, yes?
Yes.
And what is your opinion on that testimony?
For a scientist, I felt his wording was rather imprecise. And as a medical professional, I felt his actions were negligent.
Could I ask you to be a little more specific?
Our witness, Shono-san, claims he saw Waku-san sleeping in his bed during his morning rounds. However, there's no way he could have known that just by looking in from the hallway.
I have evidence supporting Terasawa-san's testimony.
Shono shouldn't have been able to see Waku. I have evidence to prove that.
Please look at this. It's a photograph of the victim's room as viewed from the hallway. In other words, this is what Shono-san would have seen when he checked in on Waku-san.
And this evidence points to the facts. Holy shit, what the fuck should I say? Oh. No. Oh shit, what the hell? Fuck. Oh, shit. I don't know what to say, fuck. I really don't know what to say. Oh my goodness. Fuck. I don't know what to say. Ah. Uh. Mm. Uh. Mm. Shit. Oh, fuck! Put on the fucking spot. This is what happens when you do blind runs. Shit. Fuck. I'll go with this one.
Shono-san was lying when he said he saw Waku-san in the bed.
Excuse me?
What he saw from the door was likely nothing more than a bulge of sheets. He couldn't have been able to identify it specifically as Waku-san. So to claim as much in his testimony seems like quite an exaggeration, don't you think?
But common sense would dictate otherwise, would it not? Who would be in the bed other than Waku-san?
The staff nurses are trained to always enter a room when checking in on a patient. In Waku-san's case, it's impossible to tell anything just by looking in from the hallway. There was actually one time a while back where we thought he was under the covers, only to find Waku-san eating in the break room a second later. And upon re-examining the room, we realized that we had mistaken a bunched-up pillow for Waku-san.
The witness makes an important distinction. The prosecution asserts that Shono-san's testimony is clear, that the victim was taken out of his room at some point between 7:50 and 8:30 in the morning. They claim that because of this time frame, the defendant must have smuggled Waku-san's body out in his laundry bin.
That's why Okubo-kun was assumed to be the only person who could have killed Waku-san.
But if Shono-san's testimony is invalid, as the defense asserts, we have to consider the possibility that Waku-san was taken in the middle of the night when nobody else was around. After which, the killer could have waited until the morning to plant the body in the defendant's truck. In other words, the defense establishes that there is reasonable doubt that Okubo-san is the killer, rendering the prosecution's central argument unsound. Your Honor, taking this new testimony into account, I'd like to call Shono-san back to the stand for cross-examination.
Is it right? Because I don't know.
Shono-san.
Yes?
Let's see how Shono responds with the evidence and Terasawa-san's testimony out in the open.
I'll get right to the point. On the day of the crime, what did you see when you looked into Waku-san's room?
I saw Waku-san asleep in his bed, I think.
And did you get a clear look at his face?
I don't remember.
So it's possible that it could have been someone other than Waku-san in that bed. Or maybe even a pillow that you mistook to be Waku-san's body. Isn't that right?
Objection! The defense is leading the witness.
Sustained. Please rephrase the question.
Shono-san, can you say without a doubt that Waku-san was in that bed when you checked on him?
I don't think I can, no.
Then the defense rests. But I do have a quick remark for the prosecution.
Huh?
The prosecution's argument has fallen apart. Now to get in for the kill.
The charges against my client stem from your assertion that he's the only possible suspect, assuming the crime took place within the stated time frame. However, the defense has proven without a doubt that Shono-san's testimony is unreliable, establishing reasonable doubt for my client. I would suggest then that you withdraw the charges against my client. With such inconclusive evidence, you'll only be wasting the court's precious time.
The prosecution does not consider the witness's testimony inconclusive. His memory of the incident may be fuzzy, yes, but that doesn't change that he saw the victim.
So, your whole case is based on a fuzzy memory? This promising young man's future is at stake, and you're willing to throw that away on unreliable testimony?
Dr. Shono is a bright and diligent researcher. After watching his own grandmother develop dementia, he vowed to create a drug that could cure the disease. After paying his own way through medical school, he went on to become the head researcher at the ADDC. Day after day, Dr. Shono visits his sick patients out of the kindness of his heart, leading to his valiant testimony here today. If you want to know whether I trust this man, then my answer is a resounding yes.
In other words, because he's such a great researcher, his testimony is infallible. His own admission that he's not sure is somehow overlooked? Is that the sum of it? Because from here, it sounds like you're putting your faith in Shono-san's title, not his testimony today.
The prosecution is not as easily swayed as you think. And you want to talk reputation? What of your client's history of domestic abuse?
Uh-oh. This is gonna bring up Okubo's record.
6 years ago, the defendant broke his girlfriend's finger. The poor girl is still suffering from the effects. And the cause? A minor, drunken disagreement. Now, fast forward to what occurred a few days prior to the crime. Waku-san, suspecting the defendant of stealing his wallet, lashed out and punched the defendant in the face. Given the clearly violent nature of Okubo-san here, that alone would be motivation enough to murder the poor old...
Is something wrong, ma'am? Please remain seated while court is in session. Terasawa-san?
Okubo-san is not a violent person. And he hasn't even had a drink in over 6 years. Not a single drop since the incident.
My court will not stand for this commotion.
He didn't blame Waku-san at all. He knew that the outburst was just caused by his dementia. That it was all the sickness's fault. So there was no reason for him to resort to murder.
Terasawa-san, please.
Okubo-san really is an incredible, caring person.
Please leave this courtroom at once.
You're right that he may be hard to approach, but he's a kind soul, and he always keeps his promises. Okubo-san's not the only person in this courtroom who would be affected by a guilty verdict, either. As a matter of fact, it would break my heart. And even through it all, he wanted me to keep this a secret, not to tell anyone, not even his lawyer, that we were dating. Even though he knew he could have ended up in prison, making sure I was safe was the only thing in the world he cared about. That's just who he is! But when the prosecution has already decided he's a criminal, how could he possibly be given a fair trial?
Her little outburst wasn't technically admissible, but as the trial dragged on, it hung over the jury like a stone. And in the end, Shinpei Okubo was found not guilty. But only a month after his release, everything changed. The same girl who had so bravely proclaimed Okubo's innocence died by the man's own hand.
More information that we're knowing about this whole thing, but like, I don't know, I still feel like there's still more.
Hi.
Something wrong?
No, it's nothing, Vice Minister.
But
I haven't seen you in about 3 years, Kido-san. I see you're still the director.
you look familiar, but I can't quite place the name. I seem to recall you looking sharper.
I'm a detective based in Kamurocho now. The name's Yagami.
I remember now. You're the reason Terasawa-kun's no longer with us. Remember, Shono?
Okubo-san was unstoppable. If only my testimony had been better.
Shono-san, right?
Doesn't matter. What brings you here anyway?
I'm investigating a murder, and I'll need your cooperation with it. Just like old times.
Yes, I see. Yes. Thank you. It does seem we received a phone call from this Shintani-san you speak of.
Do you know who he was calling?
Dr. Shono.
The same Shono-san you were just with?
Why would Shintani call Shono?
Yes. However, it's unclear as to what the point of the call was meant to be. Shono was away from his desk at the time, you see, and Shintani-san didn't leave a message.
You have no idea what he wanted to talk about?
None. Shono says he doesn't know a Shintani-san, and sees no reason why he would be calling.
Oh, really?
Shono and I co-authored the research paper on AD9. We're quite well known, as it turns out. Sometimes complete strangers pretend to be close friends or relatives in order to contact us. Perhaps Shintani-san fell into that category.
Have you heard of the mole murders taking place in Kamurocho, Dr. Kido? 3 Yakuza, each one with their eyes gouged out. It's a grisly business. Shintani was killed in the same way.
I've seen the news.
Can you think of anything tying the ADDC to those murders?
Huh? Look, just what are you implying? Look, I believe we're done here. There's nothing I can help you with.
Please stop! You can't!
Who are you?
Detective Kuroiwa, Kamuro Police, Organized Crime. One of your guests here has information related to the case I'm currently investigating. That would be you, Yagami. I'd like to speak to you as a material witness to the murder of the lawyer Masamichi Shintani.
Is that so?
That puts a bit of a snag in what we need to do. Okay, alright. Well, it looks like this whole thing is not over yet, so it seems like we're going to be continuing on and seeing how this whole thing is going to play out. But, like I said, with the whole thing with Okubo, I don't know why. I think something tells me that there's still something more that... I don't know why. I feel like there's still a little bit more to what we're already getting. So, I'll see you guys for Chapter 6 in a bit.
The mole's latest victim was the lawyer, Shintani. The last call he made brings the case that ruined Yagami 3 years ago back to the surface. A patient was taken from a hospital and found buried in the mountains. Yagami defended the suspect, Shinpei Okubo, and got an acquittal. But 1 month later, he murdered his girlfriend Emi Terasawa with a kitchen knife and burned the remains.
Alright, Chapter 6, Collusion.
I'd like to speak to you as a material witness to the murder of the lawyer Masamichi Shintani.
Is that so?
I'm Hoshino, an attorney at Genda Law Office. Officer, is this interview voluntary, or...?
It is.
It's your call, Yagami-san.
I think I'll pass.
Excuse me?
You have your answer, sir. You can go now.
You can make this easier if you come now. Next time, it won't be voluntary.
Your empty threats don't mean much to a lawyer.
Can you take this elsewhere? I really must be...
Too bad he's not a lawyer anymore, then. Your friend's nothing now. Just come along quietly. I'll come back with a warrant if I have to.
I'd like to see you try.
Ooh.
Why do you suspect me anyway? I bet you don't even have a reason.
I can come up with a few good ones.
Enough! Get the hell out of my office.
You'll regret this, Yagami.
Kuroiwa-san. You two, out.
Before we go, can we speak to Shono-san for a sec? We need to know why Shintani called him.
Listen, I already told you he doesn't know. Get it through your skull. Now, please leave.
No problem. We'll let you get back to work.
This is really getting out of hand, don't you think? I can't believe that detective thinks you're a material witness.
Yeah. I don't know what he's talking about. But what I'm more interested in is how he even knew where to find me.
That's a good point. How would the police know we were here?
Beats me. For now, let's focus on Shono, though. It would be a waste coming here and not talking to him.
Agreed. Let's see if the receptionist can help us.
Alright, so... all this dealing with Koichi Waka's murder. And this is just bringing more information towards it, because we need to speak to Shono and figure out what they were talking about. Actually, is there anything? How is this area? Pretty long.
What?
Just want to see if there's anything I can see if there's anything I can, you know, kind of grab. I don't think there's really anything. Don't really see anything. Oh, can't go nowhere else. Alright, so let's go to the receptionist.
Can I help you?
Actually, I've already been here. I was just with Director Kido, remember?
Oh, of course. Did you forget something, sir?
Well, not exactly. I'd actually like to speak to Shono-san, the 89 researcher. Where would I be able to find him?
Let me see. That should be the research wing. I believe he's in the protein abnormalities lab.
Probably need a gold keycard to get in there, huh?
That's correct, sir. I should be able to lend you one with the director's approval, though. Just give me a moment to ask. Could you tell me your name, sir?
Actually, never mind. Kido-san seemed pretty busy earlier. I'll try back later.
Are you sure, sir?
Good call. There's no chance Kido-san would let us in.
At least now we know where Shono is.
The research wing.
Yeah. I wonder if there's a map around here somewhere.
There's one right over here.
Suspicious.
We're pretty much here.
This leads to the research wing.
The receptionist said he would be in the protein abnormalities lab, right? Huh. Well, I guess that's not on this map.
Hey. This goes over to the hospital. I think Waku-san was up on the 4th floor. Suspicious. Director Kido's office. We were just in there. Hey. This is where we are now, the ADDC lobby. Suspicious. Some kind of security gate, huh? The research wing must be just past there.
All right.
Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am?
This is one of Shono-san's researchers. She was just about to return to the lab.
Oh?
My name's Hashimoto. I can show you into Dr. Shono's lab if you'd like.
Well, that actually helps us out.
Are you sure?
Of course.
Great. We'll take you up on that.
Wonderful. Hashimoto-san just happened to be passing through.
Thank you.
Right this way.
I really appreciate this, Hashimoto-san. I'm Yagami.
And I'm Hoshino, from the Genda Law Office. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, don't mention it. I'm glad to help a guest of Director Kito's. This place is so massive, you practically need a tour guide to get around. I hope you're okay with walking.
Oh, that's totally up.
Yeah, seems like that pretty much helped us out.
So, Hashimoto-san, what kind of work do you yourself do here?
I'm part of the team developing 89. Dr. Shono is the head of that team, but I'm pretty new around here.
Speaking of, what exactly does AD9 stand for?
Well, the AD comes from the name of the center. The Advanced Drug Development Center, ADDC. And it's the 9th drug our department's developed.
Oh, that was surprisingly easy.
It'll be the first dementia-curing drug on the market, right? Seems like it's really getting fast-tracked because of that. But there's a lot riding on this one, right? It could finally cure Alzheimer's disease.
That's right. Do you know how many dementia patients there are in Japan alone?
A couple 100,000 at least. Maybe even in the millions?
Right. As of 2012, there were 4.62 million.
That many?
By 2025, that number will increase to at least 7 million. Potentially up to 13 million, including at-risk patients. That's 1 in every 9 people.
Yikes.
However, as a nation, we're already at capacity in caring for these patients. In many cases, people over 60 are stuck looking after their dementia-struck parents in their own homes. Worldwide, it's estimated there will be 135 million patients by the year 2050. It's staggering. In other words, AD9 could save the world. This could be a real miracle.
I gotta say, this is making me feel kinda bad about how we treated Kito-san back there.
Director Kito will go down in history if we achieve this.
A lot's changed in 3 years. The bastard's really made a name for himself.
Be nice.